Dr. Elena Vasquez adjusted the quantum force measurement device for the third time that morning, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface with practiced precision. The laboratory aboard the Galactic Research Station, Kepler hummed, with the quiet energy of advanced alien technology, a symphony of barely audible vibrations that had taken her months to get used to. Through the massive viewport, the swirling nebula of Andromeda's outer rim painted the lab in shifting hues of purple and gold. Still calibrating that primitive device, Dr. Zexhai clicked his mandibles in what Elena had learned was the Krillian equivalent of amused condescension. His four arms worked simultaneously at his own workstation, manipulating gravitational field generators with an ease that still amazed her after 2 years of working alongside the insectoid scientist. Elena bit back her initial response. The primitive device was actually cutting-edge human engineering designed to measure forces down to the subatomic level. But she had learned that most alien species viewed human technology the way humans might view stone tools. Functional but quaint, just ensuring accuracy, she replied diplomatically, watching the readings stabilize. The experiment requires precise measurements. The research station housed the scientists from 12 different species, all working together on fundamental physics research. It was humanity's first major collaborative scientific venture with the Galactic Consortium, and Elena felt the weight of representing her entire species. Earth had only been part of the galactic community for 5 years, and humans were still proving their worth among civilizations that had mastered interstellar travel before Earth's continents had finished forming. Dr. Thok, a massive crystalline being from the silicon-based Zarathi civilization, resonated a low harmonic frequency that Elena's translator interpreted as mild interest. What is the nature of today's experiment, Dr. Vasquez? Basic force measurement, Elena explained, pulling up a holographic display of her experimental setup. I'm testing the relationship between applied force and molecular displacement in various materials under different gravitational conditions. What she didn't mention was that she had been quietly conducting comparative studies between human physical capabilities and those of other species. The data she had been collecting suggested something that seemed impossible, something that could revolutionize humanity's standing in the galactic community if she could prove it scientifically. Zexai's compound eyes focused on her setup. Using organic force application? How wonderfully archaic. Most civilized species abandoned such crude methods millennia ago in favor of pure energy manipulation. Elena smiled tightly. Sometimes the old ways reveal truths that advanced methods miss. She positioned herself at the testing apparatus, a sophisticated device that could measure force application down to the smallest increment. The other scientists in the lab continued their work, paying little attention to what they assumed was another routine human experiment. Elena placed her hands on the force application pads and began to push steadily. The readings climbed, 100 newtons, 200, 500. She was barely exerting herself, treating this as a gentle warm-up. Around the lab, conversations continued in a dozen different languages and communication methods. At 800 newtons, Dr. Thok's harmonic resonance shifted to a higher frequency, indicating surprise. Interesting output for such a small frame, the crystalline being observed. Most species of your approximate mass typically plateau around 400 newtons. Elena paused, suddenly realizing she had been unconsciously holding back. Her regular workout routine at the station's gym had her lifting weights that the automated systems struggled to provide. She had assumed the equipment was simply designed for smaller species. Perhaps I should test my actual limits, she murmured, refocusing on the apparatus. By all means, Zexai clicked, his attention now fully captured. Though I suspect we've already seen your species' maximum output. Elena took a deep breath and began pushing again, this time allowing herself to exert real effort. The numbers climbed steadily, 1,000 newtons, 1,500, 2,000. Around the lab, conversations began to quiet as more scientists noticed the unusual readings. At 3,000 newtons, Elena was breathing hard but nowhere near her limit. The force measurement device, designed to handle the output of any known biological entity, began emitting a soft warning tone. Dr. Karath, a scaled reptilian from the Voss Collective, slithered over to observe the readings. "This cannot be accurate," Karath hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air nervously. "No organic being produces such force without mechanical augmentation." "The device is functioning perfectly," Thok resonated, his crystalline structure flickering with rapid internal light patterns that indicated intense curiosity. "I am reading the quantum signatures directly. This is pure biological output." Elena pushed harder, feeling her muscles engage fully for the first time in months. "For 1,000 newtons. 5,000. The warning tone became more insistent, and several more scientists gathered around, their various forms of communication creating a babble of excited observations. At 7,000 newtons, Elena was approaching what she estimated to be about 70% of her maximum effort. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she felt strong, energized. This was nothing compared to her high school powerlifting competitions. "Impossible," Zexhai whispered, his mandibles chattering rapidly. "My species' strongest individuals produce perhaps 2,000 newtons maximum. The Voss, with their enhanced musculature, rarely exceed 3,000. Dr. Yalcine, an elegant being that resembled a cross between a jellyfish and a bird, floated closer on currents of manipulated air. Her telepathic voice touched all their minds simultaneously. The energy signatures are consistent with unaugmented biological force. This human is operating within normal parameters for her species." Elena paused her pushing, maintaining the 7,000 Newton reading effortlessly. "This is about average effort for me," she admitted. "Maybe a bit less than what I'd use at the gym." The silence that followed was profound. 12 different species represented in the lab, and not one of them had ever recorded biological force output approaching these levels. Elena began to understand why the station's gym equipment had seemed so inadequate, why door frames occasionally cracked when she wasn't careful, why other beings often seemed almost fragile in their movements. "What is your maximum output?" Thok asked, his harmonic resonance dropping to barely audible levels that indicated either fear or awe. Elena considered the question. She had never truly tested her limits, not since joining the galactic community. Human strength had always seemed unremarkable among her own species, but now she began to wonder what other assumptions might be wrong. "I'm not sure," she answered honestly. "Shall we find out?" The assembled scientists exchanged glances, communications, and energy patterns that Elena interpreted as unanimous fascination mixed with considerable apprehension. Dr. Zexhai stepped back slightly, his forearms spreading in what she had learned was a defensive posture. "Perhaps we should contact the station administrator," Karath suggested nervously. "This level of force output may pose safety concerns." Elena almost laughed. Safety concerns? She was just pushing on a testing device, not trying to break anything. But, looking at the frightened expressions around her, she began to realize that what seemed normal to her might be genuinely terrifying to beings who had never encountered anything like human physical capabilities. "I'll be careful," she promised, settling back into position. "But I think this experiment just became a lot more important than measuring molecular displacement." As Elena prepared to truly test her limits for the first time among alien observers, she had no idea that this simple physics experiment would fundamentally change humanity's relationship with the galaxy. The readings climbing past 8,000 newtons were just the beginning of revelations that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Elena settled her grip and began pushing with serious intent. The force measurement device registered 8,000 newtons, then 9,000. Around her, the assembled alien scientists watched in stunned silence as numbers climbed beyond anything they had thought biologically possible. At 10,000 newtons, the device's warning systems activated fully, bathing the laboratory in amber light. Elena was breathing harder now, feeling the pleasant burn of real exertion, but she was still nowhere near her maximum. She thought back to her college days, deadlifting 400 pounds while her teammates cheered. That had been real effort. This felt like a moderate workout. Stop! Dr. Thok's harmonic resonance carried an undertone Elena had never heard before: fear. The quantum signatures indicate stress fractures forming in the measurement apparatus. This device was designed to handle forces equivalent to small spacecraft engines. Elena immediately eased off, stepping back from the device. The readings held at 10,247 newtons before slowly declining. Around the lab, emergency lighting continued to pulse, and she could hear the distant hum of automated repair systems activating. "I could have pushed harder," Elena said quietly, the admission hanging in the air like a challenge to everything the alien scientists thought they knew about biological limitations. Dr. Zexai's forearms trembled visibly. "How much harder?" Elena considered the question seriously. "Maybe 50% more? It's hard to estimate without actually testing." The shocked silence stretched for nearly a minute before Dr. Yalcin's telepathic voice touched their minds. "This changes everything we understand about human physiology. If this individual represents normal human capability—" "I'm completely average," Elena interrupted. "Actually, I'm probably below average. I stopped serious strength training after graduate school. There are humans who could probably double what I just demonstrated." Karatha's scales shifted to deep purple, a color Elena had learned indicated either illness or extreme distress. "Double? You suggest some humans could produce 20,000 newtons of force?" "Professional powerlifters, strongman competitors, military special forces." Elena trailed off as she realized the implications of what she was saying. "Dr. Zexai, what's the strongest recorded biological force output in galactic records?" Zexai consulted his datapad with shaking mandibles. The previous record was held by a Gorvani siege beast, specifically bred for combat. For 1,200 newtons maximum output. That creature massed approximately 3 times your body weight and represented centuries of genetic optimization for strength. Elena sat down heavily in the nearest chair, her mind racing. "You're telling me that an average human is more than twice as strong as the strongest creature in galactic records?" "It would appear so," Thok resonated, his crystalline structure flickering rapidly. "Though I struggle to comprehend how this is possible." Human evolutionary development occurred on a planet we classified as moderate difficulty for biological development. Elena thought about Earth's gravity, about the constant struggle against it that shaped every aspect of human life. She thought about the predators her ancestors had faced, the environmental challenges that had forged human physiology over millions of years. For the first time, she began to see her home world through alien eyes. "What's the gravity on your home worlds?" she asked. The answers came quickly. Krylia at 0.7 Earth gravity, Zarathi at 0.4, the Voss homeworld at 0.6. Even the heaviest gravity among the represented species was barely 3/4 of Earth normal. "Your species evolved under nearly twice the gravitational stress of our homeworlds," Yalcin observed. "Combined with your planet's aggressive megafauna, extreme weather patterns, and geological instability." Elena nodded slowly. Earth was a death world by galactic standards, and humans were its apex predators. Every human carried within them the physical legacy of surviving in an environment that would crush or tear apart most galactic species. "We need to contact Earth," Elena said, "and we need to run more tests." "More tests?" Karatha's scales had shifted to a sickly yellow. "What if you damage the station?" Elena looked around the sophisticated laboratory, built from materials and technologies developed by civilizations with millions of years of advancement. For the first time, she wondered how fragile it all might be from a human perspective. "I'll be careful," she promised. "But we need to understand what this means." Dr. Thok began resonating at multiple frequencies simultaneously, a sign of intense activity. "I am already composing reports for the Galactic Science Consortium. This discovery will require immediate attention from the highest levels of government." Over the next several hours, as word spread through the station, Elena found herself at the center of a growing crowd of alien researchers. Each species wanted to run their own tests to verify the impossible readings. Elena submitted to scans, strength tests, endurance trials, and detailed biological examinations. Every test confirmed the same shocking truth. Humans were physical monsters by galactic standards. When the consortium's response came 12 hours later, it arrived in the form of Admiral Kethvar himself, the station's military commander, along with a full diplomatic envoy from 7 different species. The meeting was held in the station's largest conference chamber, with Elena sitting at one end of a table designed for beings much larger than herself. Admiral Kethvar was a Gorvani, the same species that had held the previous strength record. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor plating, with 4 powerful arms ending in claws that could shred metal. Despite his intimidating appearance, Elena could see nervousness in his posture. Dr. Vasquez, the Admiral's voice rumbled through the translation system. I must ask you to demonstrate your capabilities once more. The implications of your initial test are significant. Elena nodded, moving to a specially reinforced testing apparatus that had been hastily constructed. This device was designed to handle forces equivalent to Starship landing thrusters. She placed her hands on the grips and began to push steadily. The numbers climbed past her previous record with ease. 12,000 newtons, 15,000, 18,000. Elena was finally beginning to feel real resistance, the satisfying strain of pushing her limits. Around the table, 7 different species watched in absolute silence as their understanding of biological capability crumbled. At 22,000 newtons, Elena hit what felt like her current maximum. She held the force steady for 10 seconds, then gradually released. The conference room remained silent except for the hum of life support systems. Finally, Admiral Kethvar spoke. Dr. Vasquez, I must ask you directly. How many humans exist? Currently? About 12 billion on Earth, and maybe another million scattered across our colonies. The Admiral's armor plating shifted, a sign of extreme agitation. 12 billion beings with this level of physical capability? Elena began to understand the source of their fear. To these aliens, humans weren't just scientists or explorers or potential allies. Humans were walking weapons, each one capable of forces that could tear apart most galactic technology with their bare hands. We're not violent, Elena said quickly. Humans are explorers, creators, collaborators. We want to be part of the galactic community. But if you chose not to be, the question came from Diplomat Yexthal, a spidery being with translucent skin. If humans decided to take what they wanted by force. Elena looked around the table at faces, scales, crystals, and energy patterns that all expressed the same emotion: fear. Fear of humanity's physical capability. Fear of what 12 billion super-strong beings might do if they chose conflict over cooperation. Then, I suppose, Elena said carefully, it would be very important that we choose cooperation instead. The diplomatic implications hung heavy in the recycled air of the conference room. Elena had come to the station as a representative of humanity's scientific potential. Instead, she had accidentally revealed that humans were the galactic equivalent of walking natural disasters, and now the entire balance of galactic politics was about to shift. The emergency session of the Galactic Consortium Council convened within 48 hours, something that hadn't happened in over 3 centuries. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the great amphitheater of Station Prime, their various forms creating a bizarre tableau of galactic diversity. At the center of it all sat Elena, still wearing her simple laboratory clothes, suddenly the most important human in the galaxy. Chancellor Vortha K., an ancient being whose crystalline form had witnessed the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations, resonated with formal authority. This session is called to address the newly discovered physical capabilities of the species designated as humans and the implications for galactic security and cooperation. Elena watched as holographic displays around the amphitheater showed the footage of her strength tests. The numbers seemed even more impressive when displayed in the formal council chambers. 22,000 newtons of force from an average human female. She noticed several smaller species representatives had positioned themselves near the exits. Dr. Vasquez, Chancellor Vorthicay, continued, "You have stated that your capabilities represent the average for your species. Can you provide more specific data?" Elena stood, feeling the weight of 12 billion human lives resting on her next words. "Honorable Chancellor, I've been in contact with Earth's government since our discovery. They've compiled comprehensive data on human physical capabilities." She activated her data pad, sending information to the Council's central display. The weakest adult humans can typically produce forces around 8,000 newtons. Average humans range from 15 to 25,000 newtons. Our strongest individuals, professional athletes, and military personnel can exceed 40,000 newtons. The gasps, clicks, harmonics, and telepathic static that erupted from the assembled representatives created a cacophony of shock that the translation systems struggled to process. Elena waited for the chaos to die down before continuing. "However, I want to emphasize that these capabilities developed not as weapons, but as survival tools. Earth's environment required this level of physical ability simply to exist." Ambassador Draylin of the Pacifist Alliance floated forward, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with anxiety. "Dr. Vasquez, you speak of survival, but these capabilities could easily be turned to conquest. A single human could overpower dozens of our security personnel." Elena had anticipated this concern. "That's true, Ambassador. But consider this. Humans developed these abilities fighting creatures far more dangerous than ourselves. Earth has predators that make humans look weak by comparison. We learned to cooperate, not because we were weak, but because even being strong wasn't enough on our own." She brought up another display, showing images and video from Earth. Grizzly bears, great white sharks, saltwater crocodiles, and the massive megafauna that humans had coexisted with throughout their evolution. Every human child learns from birth that strength without wisdom, cooperation, and restraint leads to disaster. Our entire civilization is built on the principle that individual power must be balanced by collective responsibility. General Korthax of the Warcast Dominion, a heavily armored insectoid whose species had conquered 17 systems through military might, leaned forward aggressively. "Pretty words, human. But your species has only known galactic civilization for 5 years. What happens when you decide our technologies, our resources, our world should belong to you?" Elena met his gaze steadily. "General, human history is full of individuals and groups who try to take what they wanted by force. We learned something important from those attempts. They always fail eventually. Every empire built on strength alone collapses because strength alone isn't enough to build lasting civilization." "But what if all humans united?" pressed Ambassador Yexthal. 12 billion beings with your capabilities, acting in coordination?" Elena smiled for the first time since the session began. "Ambassador, you're asking what would happen if 12 billion super-strong beings decided to work together toward a common goal." "Exactly. Then, whatever that goal was would probably be achieved very quickly," Elena admitted. "But humans chose our goals centuries before we met any of you. We want to explore, to learn, to grow, and to help others do the same. That's why I'm here in this laboratory doing basic physics experiments instead of, well, whatever you're worried about." Chancellor Vorthicay's crystalline form flickered with what Elena had learned was deep thought. "Dr. Vasquez, the Council requires assurance that humanity will not use these capabilities aggressively." Elena stood straighter, feeling the full weight of speaking for her entire species. "Honorable Chancellor, I can offer you something better than assurance. I can offer you partnership." She activated another display, this one showing detailed plans that Earth's government had transmitted just hours earlier. Humanity proposes the creation of joint research initiatives, shared colonies, and integrated defense forces. Not human forces working alongside yours, but truly integrated forces where humans and aliens work as equals toward common goals. The display showed schematics for new types of spacecraft, space stations, and planetary installations designed specifically for mixed crews. Human strength combined with alien technology, alien wisdom guiding human energy, creating something greater than either could achieve alone. You're offering to share your capabilities? Ambassador Draylin's patterns shifted to what Elena hoped was cautious optimism. We're offering to share everything, Elena confirmed. Humans can provide physical capabilities your species lack, while you provide knowledge, technology, and perspective we lack. But more than that, we're offering to prove that strength is most powerful when it's used to protect and build rather than conquer and destroy. General Corthax's mandibles clattered skeptically. And if some humans disagree with this peaceful approach, Elena's expression grew serious. General, the same evolutionary pressures that made humans physically strong also made us very, very good at stopping humans who choose the wrong path. Our own history is full of examples. We police ourselves because we understand the consequences of not doing so. She paused, then added quietly, besides, any human who tried to use their strength against unwilling aliens would find themselves facing 11,999,999,999 other humans who disagree with that choice. Those aren't good odds, no matter how strong you are. The council chamber fell silent as representatives processed this information. Elena could see calculations happening behind alien eyes, weighing risks and benefits, fears and opportunities. Finally, Chancellor Vorthake spoke. Dr. Vasquez, the council will consider humanity's proposal. In the meantime, would you be willing to continue your research here, working with our scientists to better understand the implications of human capabilities? Elena smiled. Chancellor, I came here to do physics research and ended up accidentally changing galactic politics. I think continuing the research is probably a good idea. As the session adjourned and representatives began filing out, Elena noticed something that gave her hope. Instead of avoiding her or whispering fearfully among themselves, several alien scientists approached her directly with questions about human physiology, about potential joint research projects, about the mechanics of integrating human and alien capabilities. Dr. Thak resonated with curiosity rather than fear. Dr. Vasquez, I have been analyzing the energy patterns from your demonstrations. I believe there may be ways to enhance alien capabilities using insights from human evolutionary development. And I've been thinking, Elena replied, about how alien technologies might help humans channel their strength more precisely, more constructively. Dr. Zexhai clicked his mandibles in what Elena now recognized as excitement rather than condescension. Perhaps your primitive experiment has revealed something profound about the nature of biological development under extreme conditions. Elena looked around at the group of alien scientists gathering around her, no longer seeing her as a terrifying monster or a primitive curiosity, but as a colleague with unique capabilities that could benefit everyone. 6 months later, the first integrated human-alien research station was under construction. Human workers provided the physical labor to assemble components that alien technology had made possible, while alien scientists worked alongside human researchers to push the boundaries of what both groups thought possible. Elena's basic physics experiment had become something much more significant, proof that strength and intelligence, properly combined, could build wonders that neither could achieve alone. And in laboratories across the galaxy, humans and aliens worked together on projects that seemed impossible to either species working in isolation. The experiment that had started with Elena pushing on a force measurement device had evolved into the foundation of a new kind of galactic civilization, one built on the revolutionary idea that differences in capability were not threats to be feared, but opportunities to be embraced. When the first joint human-alien colony ship launched toward Andromeda, Elena stood in the observation deck alongside representatives from a dozen species, watching as human strength and alien wisdom together reached toward the stars. Her simple physics experiment had taught them all a fundamental truth. The greatest discoveries happen not when beings compete to prove their superiority, but when they cooperate to achieve what none of them could accomplish alone.